Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Today, as I said, we are reading Hansel and Gretel. Once there lived a poor woodcutter on the edge of a forest with his wife and two little children. He called the boy Hansel, and the girl was named Gretel. Oh, fudge. Hold on. Oh, sorry. Ow. Okay. They never had a proper meal, and to make matters worse, a famine broke out. The poor woodcutter could no longer feed his family. There's an image of a man carrying wood logs and at a bit far, and the girl and the boy are picking up small wood logs from the ground. One day, the woodcutter's wife informed him that they were left with very little food. He became worried, and it was then that his wife suggested it would be better if we take the children out into the thickest part of the forest and leave them there. She was very heartless towards the children, as she was their stepmother. Hence, she wanted to get rid of them. There's an image of a man and a woman talking, and a boy and a girl are overhearing the conversation from behind the door. No, I can never do such a thing. The animals would tear the children to pieces, thought the distressed woodcutter. But he had to agree with a heavy heart. The children were awake and had heard everything. Gretel started crying, but Hansel went outside and came back with his pockets full of white pebbles. There's an image of a boy, and he's carrying white pebbles in his hands and pockets, and a girl crying. Let's see. The next morning, the children accompanied their parents to the forest. But as they went, Hansel kept dropping the white pebbles on the pathway at intervals, and they walked farther into the forest. And there's an image of a woman walking in a forest, followed by a little girl. A man and a boy are talking while they're walking, and the boy hid pebbles in his hand, and he's dropping the pebbles on the road at few distances. On reaching a thick part of the forest, the woodcutter lighted a fire, and their stepmother asked the children to wait for them beside the fire. The children obeyed, but no one came, and it was nearly midnight. Gretel panicked, but Hansel assured her that they would find their way back home. There's an image of the boy and girl, and they're sitting by a fire and talking. It was a moonlit night, and the pebbles shone in the dark. Soon the children were back in their house. The woodcutter was delighted to see his children, but not his wife. There's an image of the woman holding a candle lamp with a grin, and a man is hugging two kids in the house. Very soon they were starving again. We must leave the children still farther into the forest and save ourselves from hunger, the woodcutter's wife told him angrily. The woodcutter had to give in to her wishes again. The children heard everything, but went with their parents into the forest the next morning. There's an image of an angry woman, and she's talking to a man, and the two kids hear them from another room. Hansel was not able to collect pebbles as before. Therefore, he dropped breadcrumbs on the way. That day, they went deeper into the forest. They waited again for their parents, who never returned to take them. When night fell, the children started treading the pathway to return home. They found that all the crumbs were eaten by the birds. There's an image of a boy throwing pebbles on the road, and the children wandered aimlessly in the forest for the whole night and the next day. They were lost in the thick forest. They could not bear the hunger any longer. Just then they saw a wonderful little house. Hansel and Gretel were delighted. And there's an image of a house made of sweets. A girl is eating a cake and the boy is touching the house. When the children came closer to the house, they saw that it was made of bread and cakes. The window panes were made of chocolates and biscuits. Hansel said, "Enjoy yourself, Gretel. Eat as much as you can." As they were eating, a very old woman came out of the house and took them inside. She laid a delicious meal before them and gave them 2 comfortable beds to sleep on. But the old woman was a wicked witch who used her house to lure children. There's an image of a woman making the 2 kids eat cake, and the woman's wearing a long gown with full sleeves and a long hat. It was evident that the children were now trapped. When they fell asleep, the witch carried Hansel and locked him inside a little stable. And then she awoke Gretel and told her, "Cook something for your brother. He has to become fat, and then I will eat him." Gretel was very frightened but helpless. And there's an image of the woman throwing the boy into a room filled with dry grass bundles and closing the door on him. The witch checked every day whether Hansel had grown fat or not, and then one day she ordered Gretel, "Light some fire and prepare a cauldron full of boiling water. Today I am going to cook your brother and eat him." Tears streamed down Gretel's eyes, and she prayed to God for Hansel's life. And there's an image of the woman taking the girl by her hand, and there is a large pot, and it's filled with water, and it's kept on the fire. This was not enough. The witch further added, "I have kept the bread in the oven. Go and see whether it is baked or not," she ordered Gretel. As Gretel opened the oven, the witch said, "Creep inside. I don't know how to do that. You will have to show me," said Gretel. And there's an image of the woman showing a door to the girl. As soon as the witch crept inside the oven, Gretel shut the door. The witch died inside the oven. She rushed to Hansel and shouted, "We are saved," as she opened the stable door. They rejoiced and started the journey back home. There's an image of the girl, and she's pushing the woman inside the oven and room, and she's closing the door on her. Before leaving, the children filled their pockets with jewels from the witch's chest and set off into the forest. After walking for a few hours, the children reached their house. They rushed towards their father, who was standing outside. He was delighted to see his children. All of them lived happily ever after. And there's an image of the girl and boy, and they're running towards a man beside a house. Wow, I didn't realize how violent that was. God, the stories we read, yo. Tomorrow's The Little Mermaid, so prepare for more. Later.